Welcome to the deep dive. We take a whole bunch of sources, articles, research, you name it, and try to boil it all down to the good stuff for you.
That's the idea.
And today we're diving into a sound that is, well, it's just absolutely fundamental to the electric guitar. A
Hmm.
sound you've heard countless times, probably without even, thinking about what it is.
Like that shimmer, that pulse in old surf
Yeah,
tunes.
exactly. Or, that subtle throb in a blues track. We are talking about the Fender Tremolo.
But specifically, the tremolo built into their famous amps.
Right, not the pedals, the amp circuit itself.
Yeah, and it seems simple, right? Just a wobbly sound. But the history there, the actual tech behind it, it's pretty fascinating.
So our mission, if you will, is to unpack that. Where did it come from? How did Fender actually build these things differently over time?
And why did it become such a, signature sound? How did these different versions give us such different sonic flavors? That's what we want to get into.
Okay, and let's tackle something confusing right away because this trips people up all the time. Ah, the name game.
Yeah, you look at an old Fender amp, you see that knob, it says vibrato.
Right, standard.
But here's the thing, and this is really key. What Leo Fender labeled vibrato, technically it's tremolo.
Uh-huh. It messes with the volume, not the pitch.
Exactly. Volume goes up and down cyclically. Vibrato is pitch changing, like, a singer's voice or bending a guitar string.
Whereas tremolo is more like rhythmically turning the volume knob up and down.
Precisely. It's a classic misnomer from day one, but you kind of have to know that difference to really get what the effect is doing.
Absolutely. And you got to remember, this wasn't just some add-on effect you bought separately back then.
Right, this predates most pedals.
Oh, yeah, by years, decades sometimes. This was built in. It was part of the amp's identity, right from the mid-50s.
Which made it super accessible. It was just
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, exactly. A default tool for expression for so many players.
Okay, so let's dig into that origin story. You said mid-50s,
Right.
1955, right. That's the starting point. That's the year, 1955. You have to picture the scene, musically speaking. Guitar effects were pretty basic.
Like maybe some reverb was showing up.
Yeah, reverb was starting, maybe some really clunky delay things, but nothing that gave you this rhythmic pulse, this movement in the sound itself.
So Fender drops this thing.
In the Tweed Tremolux,
Mhm.
that was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And it used their first tremolo circuit design, what we call bias modulation.
Less modulation, okay.
And it wasn't just new, it was kind of a revelation. Suddenly, guitarists had this built-in way to add this cool rhythmic thing to their sound.
Straight out of the amp, no extra boxes.
Right. Instant texture.
So it wasn't just a gimmick. It really offered something musically new.
Oh, absolutely. And because it was integrated, like you said, anyone with that amp had it. You didn't need to be an effects nerd, which wasn't really a thing yet anyway.
It sort of democratized the effect, in a way.
Totally. And it put Fender way ahead. If you wanted that sound,
Yeah.
a Fender amp was often the place to get it. It really showed they were thinking about the whole package, not just amplification.
But, okay, Fender being Fender, they didn't just stick with one thing, did they?
No. Never that simple.
This is where it gets interesting, because you're saying there wasn't just one Fender Tremolo sound.
Exactly. They actually developed several pretty different circuit designs over the years. Each one had its own, let's call it tonal personality.
Like different flavors of that pulse.
That's a good way to put it. Different engineering approaches leading to noticeably different sounds. This is where the real gear nerd stuff gets fun.
All right, let's break them down. 3 main types, right? Let's start with that first one, the original flavor from 55.
Okay, variant number 1, bias modulated tremolo. This is the one known for being warm and smooth.
And where do we find this? Which amps?
Mostly in the late 50s amps, the brown and blonde era Fenders, that first Tweed Tremolux, obviously, but also things like the brown face Vibrolux.
So amps from that early rock and roll country blues period.
Pretty much. And the how it works part is kind of cool.
Lay it on us. How does bias modulation create that smooth sound?
Well, essentially, it fiddles with the bias voltage going to the power tubes.
Okay, what's bias in simple terms?
Think of it like the tube's idle setting. How much current is flowing, even when there's no signal? It sets the tube's operating point.
Gotcha.
So the circuit rhythmically changes that operating point, making the tubes work harder, then easier, harder, then easier.
Ah, so you're directly messing with the power output stage.
Exactly. You're making the amp's engine pulse, basically.
And the sound that comes out, what's the feel of it?
It's very organic, warm, smooth, like a natural pulse or a breathing sound. It's not choppy.
More like a wave than a chop.
Yeah, gentle undulation. It integrates really nicely with the amp's core tone. Great for adding just a bit of movement, soulful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
less aggressive.
Okay, smooth and warm. Got it. Now, variant number 2 sounds intriguing. Harmonic tremolo.
Ah, yeah. This one's special. A bit of a rare beast.
Why rare?
It only showed up for a short period, really. Early 60s, specifically 1960 to 63, in certain brown face amps.
Like which ones?
The Super, the Concert, the Pro, from that specific brown face era. Not the later black face versions.
And the way it works is pretty different too, right? More complex.
Oh, absolutely. This wasn't just fiddling with a bias. This was quite clever for the time.
How so?
Okay, so the circuit takes your guitar signal and splits it. It sends high frequencies one way, low frequencies another way.
Like a crossover in a speaker?
Kinda, yeah. Creates two frequency bands. Then it modulates the volume of these two bands, but crucially, out of phase with each other.
Out of phase, so as one gets louder, the other gets quieter.
Exactly. And then it mixes them back together.
Whoa. Okay, that sounds like it would do more than just make the volume go up and down.
It absolutely does.
Yes,
This
it does.
sound is, it's described as swirly, phasey, almost three-dimensional.
So not just tremolo, but almost like a phaser or a vibe effect mixed in.
Yeah, people often compare it to a univibe, even though the circuit's totally different. It creates this really rich spatial movement. It's not just throb, throb. It's more like whoosh, whoosh.
That sounds amazing. No wonder it's sought after.
Definitely. It's rare. It sounds unique. So vintage ones are pricey. And you see modern boutique stuff trying to copy it.
Like which ones? Any examples?
Well, the Strymon Flim pedal has a mode based on it. And Milkman amps, they do an amp tremolo inspired by it. Shows how cool that sound still is, even though Fender didn't stick with it for long.
Why didn't they stick with it, do you think? Too complex.
Probably a mix of complexity and cost to manufacture compared to what came next.
Which brings us to number 3. The one most people probably picture when they think Fender amp tremolo.
Right, the classic opto-isolator tremolo, sometimes called photoresistor tremolo.
This is the sound of the blackface and silverface amps?
Yep, from 63 onwards, your deluxe reverbs, twin reverbs, Princeton reverbs, all those legendary amps. This became the standard.
And this is the one with the funny nickname, the Roach.
Haha. Yeah, the opto-coupler component often gets called the Roach because, well, the old ones kind of look like one.
Okay, so how does this Roach work? Less complicated than the harmonic one.
Mechanically, it's pretty neat, actually. Uses a tiny neon lamp.
Like an actual little light bulb.
Yeah, a little LFO-driven neon bulb that flashes on and off rhythmically. And right next to it is a light-dependent resistor, or photoresistor. That's the Roach part.
So the flashing light hits the resistor.
And when the light hits it, its resistance changes. That changing resistance is used to control the signal level, effectively turning the volume up and down.
Huh. An optical volume control?
That's pretty clever. Simple, almost.
Relatively simple, reliable, and consistent to build compared to the harmonic tremolo, certainly.
And the sound, because
Yeah.
this one sounds different.
Oh, yeah. This is the choppy one. Much more percussive, more of an on-off feeling compared to the smooth bias mod.
Less smooth,
Yeah.
less swirly.
Definitely. But that's its signature. That chop is the sound for a lot of people. Think surf rock again. That driving pulse.
Yeah, that rhythmic attack.
That's the opto circuit. It cuts through. It's very distinct. Instantly recognizable, became the Fender sound for tremolo from the 60s onwards. Wow. So 3 pretty distinct ways Fender tackled the same basic effect. It really shows them experimenting, iterating.
For sure, if you just map it out quickly. 55, bias mod starts in the tweeds.
Okay.
Then 59 to 63, you get the brown face era, with both bias mod and that complex harmonic tremolo appearing in certain models.
The experimental phase.
Kind of, yeah. Then 63 onwards, the blackface amps come in, and they standardize on the opto-isolator circuit.
And that carries through silverface amps and even into modern reissues, right?
Largely, yes.
Yeah.
That opto circuit became the workhorse. Fender still builds amps with tremolo, often referencing these classic designs, and like we said, the pedal world is full of clones of all 3 types.
It really speaks to how good those original circuits were that people are still chasing those specific sounds today.
Absolutely, they set the benchmark.
So we've talked tech. Let's talk music. Who really grabbed these sounds and made them famous?
Well, you got to start early. Dwayne Eddy.
Mr.
Right. His instrumental stuff, heavily featuring that pulsing sound. Probably using the earlier bias mod tremolo for that slightly smoother integrated throb.
Okay, yeah, I can hear that. And then surf rock.
Oh, mandatory mention, the Ventures.
Absolutely. Core to their sound.
That shimmering, driving pulse. That's often the blackface opto tremolo sound right there. It defines so much of that genre's energy.
It really did, but it wasn't just stuck in the 50s and 60s, right?
Not at all. Fast forward a bit. Think about Johnny Marr with the Smiths.
Oh, yeah. His clean tones often had that shimmer, that pulse.
Exactly. Using, again, likely that blackface-style opto tremolo on Fender amps to get those jangly, rhythmic textures under his intricate guitar lines. It gave it movement.
And even more recently, bands known for lots of effects.
Well, think about Radiohead. Johnny Greenwood, Ed O'Brien. They use tons of pedals, sure, but that Fender amp tremolo sound or pedals based on it definitely pops up for atmosphere, for texture.
Right, sometimes subtle, sometimes more intense and weird.
Yeah, showing its versatility. From twangy rock to atmospheric soundscapes.
And you also have to figure countless other players, blues guys, country players, they just used it because their Fender amp had it.
Exactly. It wasn't always a deliberate choice like picking a pedal today. It was just part of the amp's voice, part of the toolkit that came standard.
So it became woven into the fabric of those genres almost by default.
Pretty much. Surf, psych rock, later ambient stuff, indie rock.
Yeah.
That amp tremolo sound is a key ingredient in so many styles. It just gave the guitar this extra dimension of movement.
So wrapping this up, it started as technically a mislabeled effect.
Yep, vibrato. That was actually tremolo.
But it became this massive innovation, and not just one innovation, but like 3 distinct takes on it.
Right. The smooth bias mod, the swirly harmonic, the choppy opto, each with its own character, its own place in music history. Fender really gave us a whole palette of amplitude modulation, not just one effect.
And these sounds are still totally relevant. They're benchmarks.
Absolutely. Fender keeps making them in reissues, and boutique builders are constantly chasing those classic tones and pedals. Their appeal hasn't faded at all.
It really is amazing how something seemingly simple, just built into an amp, could evolve like that. Different tech, different sounds.
And shaping whole genres along the way. It makes you think, doesn't it?
About what?
Well, what other hidden tech is lurking inside our favorite instruments or amps? Features that seem basic, maybe even integrated like this tremolo was, but actually have these really rich histories and a huge impact we might overlook.
Huh. Like, what other simple knobs or switches hold surprising stories?
Exactly. Maybe the biggest innovations aren't always the flashiest pedals, but the things that just became part of the instrument's DNA, almost without us noticing. Something to chew on.
That is a cool thought. All right, well, that's our deep dive into the world of Fender amp tremolo. Hope you found that interesting.
Yeah, hope so.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one.